perhaps we can generate this guidebook for action, right? Positive action in this critical state we are in, right? Does that sound like a reasonable course? Like,
Yeah.
make a project or something like that that is like how to guidebook for people, like regular people, young people especially, because they're the young people are the ones that are having the biggest problem right now, because it's like, what do I do? How do I make this work?
Well, it's not only what do I do, but we have this proliferation of obvious non-truth being promulgated as truth, and it's this erosion of insistence and belief in an objective truth. And so we've just, when you destroy objectivity and truth, it's a hard thing to then say that the subjective truth is the truth unless it's coincidental.
Trying to process that, man, because it's like I understand what you're saying. I think
truth properly defined cannot be rooted in the subjective. Else truth has no universal meaning. Else truth cannot be true.
Right. And this goes to this deconstructionist nonsense, right?
Yeah,
and it's like so this it's intersubjectively verifiability. Intersubjective verifiability is essential for what is.
And whether it's objective or if it's predicated upon coherence of multiple subjective views, those function largely the same. So if something is true a priori, then it doesn't matter whether the truth is derived from the fact that it is a priori true, or that party A and party B discussing that truth have intersubjectively agreed that that is a true. So the intersubjective truth can also be objectively true, but it's not necessarily true that anything intersubjectively true is objectively true. But we use them as proxies for one and the same.
Right. And it kind of comes down to, it's like, it's interesting because it's like, what is the social operability of language, right? Because it's like, it's close enough to the truth for our purposes at this time, right? It's like, okay, and I can get my coffee now. Are we free to go? Am I free to go? I paid my money.
I've got my coffee.
We're good, right? It's like this. We're not having to do this, are we? I mean, I need to know right now.
The guy having a schizoid break in the, by the counter is not a problem for me.
Okay, and wait, I'll leave you to it. You guys can work it out.
This is no longer in my universe.
So it is, and it's like what I find is the alienation. And it goes to bad information, right? And sort of the bad information is like this. And so, and it's coming out of universities. I will not hesitate to vilify them in some regard here, which is they're propagating a message. And I think propagating is a great term because it's like propaganda, which is they're propagating a message, which is normal is bad. And you're being injured, you're being harmed by normal. Therefore, go raise hell everywhere you go.
It's even deeper than that, because to exist in the world and to be able to properly negotiate the world, there has to be some element of that which I perceive to be true is true. Because if you never have anything that you can perceive to be true as true, then how on earth can you possibly motivate? It just becomes reductionist and totally non-negotiable situation. And so you're telling kids, all right, we're getting into the minefield, but I think this is not that controversial. I mean, we're telling kids that the observation that there are men and women and boys and girls, and you can generally ascertain the difference with 99.9% certainty. The totally opposite view is being pushed, right. That boys and girls are not only the same, but there's not even such a thing.
Right.
Your observations of reality that you're using to fill out this worldview that the adults have provided the superstructure of words and stuff, and you're trying to map out your lived experience as a freaking semi-conscious, semi-formulated, piece of wetware.
Right.
And then so that's why I think it's even more fundamental. And so it's like, my mom will say, why do you care? It's like, I don't care about transgender people, individuals per se. I think that they should be allowed to do whatever they want. And if whatever they do makes them happy, by God, please, I'm about maximizing human happiness and achievement.
Right.
But the deeper problem here is we're telling people and training kids from a young age that their mental faculties and their observational faculties are not suited to navigate the world.
Here is that we're asking them to take leave of their senses. Right? It's like, that's not a good, that's a dissociative state. It's like, I watched a very interesting video by I don't know if she's African American, but Black lady, and she gave a interesting talk. She was talking about being she thought everything in terms of this critical race theory. She went to college in the She went to college in the United States, and she was judging everything through the lens of race. And she's like this. She goes, she would sense the microaggression if someone looked at her funny on the street, and it would ruin her day. Like, so it's like this. So it's like, because it's the attachment to this theory caused her harm, and then she quit.
I think it's even deeper than that. I think the theory, so it's like, I've read not all, but a lot of Ibram X. Kendi's work, and a lot of these critical race theorists, and a lot of these critical theorists and anti-racism and stuff. To me, it's like, if I read Ibram X. Kendi's book without all the fanfare and puffery and stuff, it literally reads like the work of a totally schizophrenic, paranoid mind. Everywhere he looks, even in the mirror as a Black man who wants to help Black people, he sees vicious racism. And so it's like, it's a deeply, deeply paranoid worldview for some people. And I believe that people have threshold, I don't know enough, but basically, if you increase the amount of stress in the system, like what causes schizoid breaks, there's some traumatic, a lot of the time there's some traumatic thing, or the system, the system, okay, I'm wrong. But anyway,
that's a I don't know how it's.
Let me say it in a less specific and more abstract way that is probably more concretely true. So if you raise the psychological disturbance in a system, it leads some people who are, ceteris paribus, wouldn't be as agitated and prone to like these negative emotions. If everybody's level of agitation is higher, then it increases the available threshold of things. So anyway, it's like these people, everybody's in this hyper stressed space. We're seeing all these, young girls killing themselves at like double the rate, like because the whole system is permeated with with excessively high negative emotion. And then people are more susceptible to believe that which confirms their what is causing their negative emotion. And so it's like, I feel all this negative emotion, my life sucks, and I've got a simple explanation here, that white supremacy.
Yes.
And so now I see white supremacy everywhere. And so if I'm irritated all day, it becomes a lot easier to see somebody, just glancing over their shoulder as like some racist, personally offensive and attacking act.
Right. And so, and it's like they say these strange things, which is like, words are violence, right? Right. And it's like, I understand it, because it's like, it hurts me. Literally hurts them if they hear the word, because it's like they get this hyper activated sensibility. I regard it as alienation, and it's driven for political purposes, in my opinion. The more irritated and activated and more friction that people cause when people don't go the way you want to go, it's not civil interaction. So it's always intentional non-cooperation, right?
I'm always caught between, I abhor univariate explanations and stuff. So when it's like, they're doing it for political purposes. It's like, I would absolutely agree that there is a large school of thought on the radical left that pushes this destabilization, internecine warfare, us versus them type stuff. But I also think that there are societal causes that are exacerbating or running parallel to intentional efforts. And so back to the greater point here, which is, what do we do? It's like, if you look at the left, they've been theorizing about whether or not anyone is actually doing it right now. And I'm not pointing fingers at any actual actors or anything, but if you just look through the texts and you follow the ideological development of the continental tradition versus the Enlightenment people. So that's like, you measure stuff versus there is no stuff. Why are you using words? And so basically we end up in a place where the left has been studying how to do this, and they've developed, a whole litany of different theories about how to push culture. But it seems like the conservatives, like, we're trying to conserve what we were doing 20 years ago to fight these people. And they've moved on to they've advanced chronologically and strategically 20 years. And we're trying to conserve the previous methods of behavior that have not only already been routed, but have been proven to not work in the past. So how on earth could you apply them in the future? And so I say all this, it's like, I don't know that there's like, okay, here's the 10 rules for saving the republic. Like, I don't know about that. Like, here, but I do think that you can't beat a plan with no plan.
That's right. That's another rule, man. I like that.
Another one of rules. And it's like, right now, the right is completely reactionary.
That's why I'm suggesting, I think we make a project, you and me, we'll make a project to generate a plan of action, like a general plan of action, right? For engagement to rectify the situation in a civil manner, right? I think that that's a good start, and to give everybody should be able to find a place inside there where they can comfortably fit and be productive in that regards. And we can generate a like a book or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what if it's a 10-step program or whatever, the 12-step, Recovering Conservatives Anonymous, whatever. But it's like, I think that what the obvious and best place for anyone to start, and you don't need any sort of central directive or anyone putting a huge amount of intellectual effort into coming up with the plan. At root, every plan is based on the action of the individuals involved. And so, right, as an individual, I think like one of the first and most important things to do is, all conservatives and Republicans and what normies or whatever need to realize that social media is not real.
There you go. That's a good rule right there.
I'm not putting it in my rules because
that's a different
domain.
Thing.
Different domain.
We're not going there.
Just so the audience knows, my rules are about political campaigning and geared towards underdogs and beating money and stuff. But some of them are true across the board. But I'm not going to put social media is not real in there because social media is an important tool. But other than the informational flows, which may or may not be obviously necessary from like the comments and the shares and stuff, the responses by the people to the information are not real.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Best Medicine Podcast with Bradley H. Werrell, D.O. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe below, either over there or over there. Also, if you're interested in a medical consultation with myself, there's also information below.